Alrighty. So first of all, I hope everybody had a great Easter, as today, of course, is Easter Sunday, and it's kind of weird the fact that we have no MLS game on Sunday. Usually in a match week, we usually have a game on Sunday or two that is, but I guess because of the fact that it is Easter, the league decided that what, let's just take this week off in terms of Sunday and just have all the games that's going to be happening on Saturday. So without further ado, let's tackle these games that happened on Saturday, starting off with the first 8 game as part one, and then tomorrow we'll look at the last 7 game as part of part two. And there were definitely some crazy games this week. MLS is back when it comes to the fact that there's some crazy games, high scoring game, and some shenanigans that is happening. But let's begin by talking about the first game, and let's talk about the first of 3 matinee game that happened this week with the early matinee game between Toronto versus the Colorado Rapids. And I gotta say, this game was absolutely bonkers. I mean, it is not very often you have an early matinee game be this bonkers, but that's what we saw in this one. And in fact, it's been a while since I've seen a game end at 10v9. I mean, I've seen many times where a game ended with one team have 10 men. I also have seen times where it's 10v10, but it's not very often you see a game that ended with a 10v9. And it's also not very often I say bonkers and Toronto in the same sentence, because TFC games usually are not this crazy. Now, in the first half, Shari would hits it right to Stefan, as that was the first shot of the game before Zimmerman would hit it wide from the free kick. I thought Toronto was definitely the better team early on. They were on the front foot looking for the opener. Stefan would then deny Cogello, but it falls to Sargent, who couldn't put that one away. And yeah, that is one that Josh Sargent would get back. We've seen him score many of these kind of goals, these rebound goals during his time with Norwich. And yeah, that is one that he definitely loved to have back, and still try to open his MLS account up to this point. In an 18-minute, Navarro would hit it right to Gavron. That was the first shot for the Colorado Rapids. Kerr would then miss one from close range. The shots were 4-2 for Toronto, half hour into this one. But then in the 34th minute, this is the first of 3 red cards that we saw in this game. Jackson Travis gets a straight red here. They go to VAR to see whether or not his foul was deemed a serious foul play, and indeed it was. It was a serious foul play that he did in terms of that challenge on Edwards. It was not pretty challenge whatsoever. It was a studs-up challenge, and when I saw that, yeah, this was going to be overturned. It was going to be upgraded to a red card. So yeah, just like that, the Rapids were down to 10 men. Bill Gavron would then deny Aronson from close range. Despite being man down, the Rapids were still doing pretty good. And again, this is the thing we seen this time and time again. Just because you're up a man in the game doesn't mean it always means that you're pretty much done for the game. And more times than not, we've seen the 10 men be the better team this season, but we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. If you thought the first half was crazy, get ready to what we see in the second half, because in the 49th minute, a penalty. This was actually not a penalty for the Rapids. This was actually a free kick just outside the 18-yard box, but they go to VAR to see whether or not Edwards himself committed dog-so offense, and he did. So yeah, he was sent off in this one. So Edwards, of course, was on the receiving end of a red card earlier. Now he got himself sent off in the game. That's something you don't see happen very often, where you're on the receiving end of it, and now you are the one that's being sent off and giving your marching orders. So we get 10v10 soccer, and Colorado immediately take advantage of it, as Paxton Aronson, a vintage Paxton Aronson kind of free kick goal, instant punishment for the Rapid. That's for the red card and the dog-so offense, and just like that, they took the lead 1-0 in this one. And then the 54th minute, they would make it 2-0, as Rosenberry would score here to make it 2-0 in favor of the Rapids. And yeah, Toronto has just been absolute rattle ever since it's been 10v10. Colorado definitely have been the better team ever since the game went 10v10. Safundes would then miss wide from close range, but then in the 65th minute, Richie Lorea would give some life for Toronto as he scored from Sargent and Safundes to go within one for TFC. I believe this is the first assist for George Sargent as well in a Toronto FC shirt, so definitely good on him on that. And it was also kind of a little shot cross kind of effort from Lorea as well, and one that, yeah, Stefan, he probably should have done better in terms of it. And in fact, this would be a nightmare game for Zach Stefan, because we'll talk about what happened in this one that made this such a nightmare game for him. In the 71st minute, Lorea almost tied it up as the post denying him there. Actually, it wouldn't have mattered because the flag went up. And then in the 74th minute, we get our 3rd red card of the game, as Navarro get his 2nd yellow in this one. So now all of a sudden, the Rapids, who of course at one point were down to 10 men and were a man light. Now they were a man light again, but this time now they're down to 9 men in this one. So it's 10v9 soccer again. So that's something you don't usually see happen very often. And yeah, Toronto immediately took advantage of it, but it's probably in the most unlikeliest situation. So I want to say that this was kind of a little shades of Sean Johnson and Daniel Vega, where those two goalkeeper had that one bad moment where it was a simple back pass, it just kind of go through their leg. But this one was kind of a little bit more extreme with the way that it was just kind of a back pass that goes to Stefan. Stefan looked like he was going to get it, and I mean he just misjudged it. Like honestly, that's probably the simplest way to say it, where he just completely misjudged it, trying to take it down, and next thing you know, it went by him and goes into the back net. Yeah, let's just say that this nightmare day for Zach Steffen has just got worse, and one that yeah, I said that he definitely does not want to look that one back. I mean, that's just an understatement. That was not a great goal to concede by any means unnecessary. But Toronto, they don't care. TFC ties the game up at two apiece of an absolute gift. Showery then looked for the lead, but he was denied by Stefan. The momentum was definitely all with Toronto. And unsurprisingly, I mean, it is hard to recover, not just being down to 9 men up to this point, but after that embarrassing moment that happened, it is hard to recover even as a team as whole. And in the 85th minute, Toronto would get the lead for the first time, and guess who? It's Jar Sargent. Finally, his first ever MLS goal, and probably first of many MLS goal. And what a way to score your first MLS goal and first in the Toronto FC jersey by completing the comeback in this one as he scored from Cagelo to give TFC the 3-2 lead. But this was not over yet. We still have 12 minutes of stoppage time in this one. It's pretty much all hands on deck for Toronto trying to seal what this was a bonkers game up to this point. The good news is they're able to do so. Big win for Toronto. They have now won 3 out of their last 4 games. And it's crazy to think, have they not actually conceded that goal against the Red Bulls late to draw points in their first of 9-game homestand? This team would have won 4 in a row and would be one of the hottest team right now in the Eastern Conference. But hey, like I said, TFC, they need to take advantage of this. I mean, in the midst of this 9-game home stretch, you have to win your home game, and this is a great opportunity to do so. And so far, for the most part, they've done exactly that, albeit not in the way that they imagined. How they wrapped up the 3 points in this one against the Rapids. The shots in this one, 18 shots for the 5 that the Rapids had, 4 shots on goal for the 5 that Toronto has, 7 shots off target for the none that Toronto has, 1 shot that was blocked for the 4 that Toronto has, and possession-wise, 52% possession compared to 48% possession the Rapids has in this game. And I didn't think it was possible to have MLS after dark in a day game like this, but that's what we saw in this one. I mean, just an absolute bonkers game that we see in this early kickoff. Now, let's talk about the other matinee games, and the other matinee games were not as crazy. Though this game between New England and Montreal, this feel like it's one of those typical games where the scoreline really didn't tell the story of this game. If you didn't watch this game, you would have thought, well, New England got the easy win, able to take advantage of an easy opponent and a much-needed win. But when you look at this game itself, I mean, Montreal, they feel like they were hard done in this one. They should have at least got a point in this game, and I would say, was kind of the better team in this one. They definitely had more chances in this one compared to New England, but they found themselves 1-0 down relatively quickly. 6 minutes in, Langoni would give the Revs a 1-0 lead. Julia did make the save there on Turgelman, but Langoni was Johnny on the spot to clean that up. So yeah, just like that, New England takes a 1-0 lead 6 minutes in. Turgelman did look for the second, but he struck the post. It was all New England early in this part. And I promise, Montreal will get into this game, but early on, New England definitely were the better team, looking for the second goal. We then go for a period where not much really happened. Jaime would then hit it right to Turner, as then in the 34th minute, Marko Mitrovic got himself sent off in this one. So yeah, he was definitely not happy with the call, so he kind of stormed on to the pitch to confront the referee, and that is a big no-no. So yeah, he got sent to the stands in this one. Wouldn't be surprised he might even get a fine as a result of that. In the 40th minute, Forholson would then puts it wide from close, as Montreal definitely have woke up in this one, trying to get the equalizer. Turner would then deny Owusu from close, and then the post would deny Jaime from long range. The post was definitely not afraid of either of these teams, especially for Montreal in this one. But yeah, safe to say the refs, they need halftime badly, because it was all Montreal ever since the half-hour mark. They were pushing hard to get that equalizer. Langoni would then puts it wide from close, and then Brigette would hit one right to Turner as the halftime whistle finally sounded, and that has to be a relief to all the refs, fans, and certainly the players, because they were definitely chasing shadow in that last 15 minutes of that first half. In the second half, with New England leading 1-0, Sunchuk would miss wide from close range as Montreal kind of picked up where they left off, trying to push for the equalizer. Gillier would then deny heel from close in the 54th minute, and then the post would deny Burke again. So, like I said, the post was definitely not a friend for either of these teams. Definitely not for Montreal. Second time in this game that the woodwork denied them, but it did fall to Sunchuk, and he only can hit this one right to Turner. And I'll tell you what Sunchuk, he will want to have this one back because that was a massive chance there for him. Wusu would then puts it wide from long range in the 71st minute before Burgett would puts it right into the side netting. Montreal continued to push for that equalizer, but you just kind of had a sense, is this one of those days again? Again, all teams, of course, have these kind of day where, no matter what you do in front of goal, you just cannot put the finishing touch. And it also doesn't help the fact that in the 77th minute, the second goal happened. As Fofana would score from Langoni to give New England a 2-0 lead, just completely against the run of play as Montreal were pushing for that equalizer and just an absolute backbreaker as well. Jaime then looked to answer, but he hits it right to Turner before Longstaff would puts it wide from close range as in the 84th minute. Yeah, just not happening for Montreal in this one. No matter what they do, it's one of those games for them, and it doesn't help that in the third minute stoppage time, New England put the icing on the cake as Peyton Miller would score to make it 3-0 in favor of New England. That's the final score of this one, despite the fact that, again, when you look at the shots, Montreal had more of the shots, 19 shots for the 10 than New England has. New England, they had more on the shots on target, 6 shots on goal for the 5, but not by much. 7 shots off target for the 2 that New England has. 2 of those came off the post for Montreal out of those 7. 4 shots that was blocked for the 1 that New England has, and possession-wise, 58% possession compared to 42% possession that New England has in this game. And this can happen to bad teams where, we talked about before where when you're a bad team, you're not going to get that more time or not. I mean, I do think that Montreal played a very good game, and I don't think this game and the scoreline really justified the fact that they played well in this one. But the problem is they couldn't put the ball into the back net. They couldn't show that clinical finishing, and also let's not to mention the fact that their defense, we know they have a bad defense, and this game kind of continue to solidify that as a result. Now, moving on, in the next match, we got RSL versus Sporting KC. So I mentioned many times before that, as much as I know Sporting KC is dead last in the West, I always preach the fact that, as much as, yes, you look at their record, it's not pretty whatsoever, and it's expected, but they're at least giving the effort. I do like the effort that Sporting KC put week in and week out. Fortunately, this was not one of them. This feels like probably one of the worst games that they played this season, probably right up there, if not worse than the opener that they play against the San Jose Earthquakes, Sporting KC throughout this game. So that being said, RSL, they kept this game interesting for a long time, and part of the reason is the finishing was not there for RSL for most part of this game. Though it was there just 3 minutes into this game as Diego Luna threat back into the starting 11. He scored from Caliscan and Gozo to give RSL a 1-0 lead. It was also the first shot of the game as well for Real Salt Lake. Quinton then puts it wide from close range. It was all RSL early in this one. Sporting, they definitely were not showing the effort that they kind of show for the past couple of games. Harris would then puts it over from close, as that was the first shot for Sporting KC. Catranes would then hits one right to Polshkam. The shots were 3-1 for RSL already early in this one. Polshkam then denied Gozo from close. Sporting they just cannot get out of their own half. I mean, they would just keep turning the ball over and over again in their own half. No outlet ball whatsoever. And then the post would deny Salons after, you guessed it, it came off of a bad turnover for Sporting KC as well. And up to this point, the shots were 9-2 for RSL. And we only played 22 minutes in this one. I thought this was going to be an ugly kind of count in terms of the shots total. And spoiler alert, it kind of was a little bit. So we'll talk about that. In the 27th minute, Gil Vigi would then had a shot that was deflected and goes wide before Glad would head it wide from close in the 37th minute. The post would then deny Salons again. So you talk about post being a problem for a team. I talk about this not being a friend for Montreal. It wasn't a friend for RSL either in this one, especially for Sergei Salons, twice hitting the woodwork in this one already. But Sporting, they definitely need halftime badly. I mean, RSL, they were pounding on that door for the second goal. Polshkam would then deny Solons from close. And then in the second minute of stoppage time, they actually did go to see whether or not in that previous play, whether there was a Doxo foul that was committed against Sporting KC. VAR says no, so we remain 11v11, and we do head to halftime with RSL leading 1-0, despite the fact that they could have easily scored 3 or 4 goals in that first half. In the second half, Reynolds was in on goal there, but he missed wide. That was a huge opportunity for Sporting KC. For a team that hasn't been in this game, you have to take advantage of that chance, because if you don't, this can happen. As in the 55th minute, RSL finally got that second goal, and Sergei Solans deserved this. I mean, he's been trying so hard in this one, at times being snake bitten, but he finally gets on the score sheet here from Gozone and Gilivergi to give RSL a much needed two-goal cushion. Gozo did look to try to make it free, but his shot was deflected wide before Spearing would head it right to Postgam, as RSL was not letting off. I mean, they would continue to try to press for this third goal. And by the way, I just realized I actually missed a goal for Sporting KC. This is what happened when I decided to write relatively fast. I actually missed the goal where Joveljic, of course, scored to make it 2-1 in this point. So yeah, no wonder I wrote. Why did I wrote Gozo look to respond after RSL took the lead? Yeah, Joveljic did make it 2-1 not long after. So yeah, like I said, now I wonder why RSL was really pushing hard to try to get that 2-goal advantage, because yeah, they got some work to do. Garcia would then hits it right to Cabral in the 49, or not the 49, the 69th minute, that is. Nice. Luna would then miss wide on the curler, and you just wonder if the scoreline would be so much more one-sided if RSL was being lethal in front of goal. And we talked about before, when you're not being in front of goal, it doesn't take much. Like with Sporting KC, especially with the likes of Jolich, he already showed the ones in this one. Sporting KC, you know, I've seen before where they have been able to battle back and able to get themselves the equalizer. And if you're RSL, you got to be careful. You want to get that third goal eventually. Caliscan tried to do so, but he puts it wide from long range. But then in the 82nd minute, RSL finally got that much needed third goal, as Gozo would score from Caliscan and Spearing to make it 3-1 in this one. And it was an absolute banger from Xavier Gozo to finish up this game. Barrera then looked for 4, but he was denied by the post. So free post being hit by RSL in this one, but in the end, it's still 3 points for RSL in this one, as they win 3-1 in this one. And as I said, the shot total, it was pretty ugly. 23 shots committed, just 5 that Sporting KC had. 3 shots on goal for the 7 that RSL had. 5 shots off target for the 2 that Sporting KC had. No shots that was blocked for the 7 that RSL had. And possession-wise, 51% possession compared to 49% possession RSL has in this game. Absolute domination by RSL for most part of this game. The only thing that they'll be a little disappointed is the fact that they didn't score more in this one. And as I said, for Sporting KC, I mean, if you wanted me to at least try to say that this team shows some effort, at least they kind of made it a little interesting. But overall, like I said, this was not one of those games where I talk about the fight and the spirit that I've said Sporting KC have shown the last couple of games, because they were pretty much getting rolled over throughout this game. And maybe a little fortunate the fact that at one point they were still in this game as long as they were. Now, moving on, in the next game is the Red Bulls and FC Cincinnati. So now let's get to the nightcap in terms of these busy actions, starting off with the Red Bulls and Cincinnati. So yeah, it's been a while since the New York Red Bulls got themselves back in the winning category. It's been since week number 2 that since they last got a win, but they needed this one against Cincinnati, though. Let's just say that in this game, defense was kind of optional at times in this game. As well. In the first half, Laurel would deny Hall off of a deflection, but in the 12th minute, Hall would score. He scored from Cal and Marshall Ruddy to give the Red Bulls a 1-0 lead. That lead lasted 5 minutes, as Pavel Buka would answer from Danke and Giddy to make it tied up at 1 apiece in this one. Forsberg did look to answer, but he was denied by Laurel before Cal on the other end would hit it right to Laurel in the 22nd minute. I thought it was a good response for the Red Bulls up to this point, trying to get the lead back. Though, as I said, that Danke would put one over the bar before Horvat would deny Evander from close just 5 minutes later. And then 1 minute later, he denied Enchenike from close, as, yeah, never mind. Seems like Cincinnati were now the one that's pushing to try to get the lead. Hagelin would then head it wide from close before Lauro denied Marshall Ruddy from long range. Yeah, defense, it was not really a thing in this one. There was not much defense that was being played. There was so many grade A chances that both of these teams was getting. Horvat would then deny Hagelin on the header before Duncourt puts it wide from long range in the 43rd minute. Cal would then miss wide from long range in the 2nd minute of stoppage time. But despite all the chances that we have, it's only a 1-1 game heading into halftime. It didn't stay 1-1 for long, as in the 48th minute, Emil Forsberg finally opened his goal scoring account for this season. It was a vintage for Forsberg effort. It wasn't really from a direct free kick, but it was kind of like a short one that plays to Forsberg, and he buries that one to give the Red Bulls the lead back in this one. Evander then looked to answer, but he missed high in the 50th minute before Echenike missed wide from close there as well. Though, yeah, that is one that Echenike wants to have back there, because that was a massive chance for him, and one that the Red Bulls got away with it because they committed WTF turnover. Like I said, defense not really a thing in this game whatsoever. In the 54th minute, Julian Hall would have a shot that was deflected and goes wide. Defense kind of continue to be an option, as I wrote. Horvat would then deny Echenike from close before Denke would miss wide from close in the 65th minute. But then the 66th minute, the Red Bulls would make it a 3-1 game, and they can thank the Cincinnati for helping them getting a 2-goal lead, because Kyle Smith would score an own goal here. It was a great finish there of him toe poking this one in. Usually you see striker able to do so, but the problem was he toe poked it into the wrong net. So yeah, it was 3-1 now for the Red Bulls. Ruvakova then looked to answer, but yeah, Ruvakova has continued to be snake bitten. Of course he's not going to score. He was denied by Loro. But then the 72nd minute, Kyle Smith basically did a Yamar. He scored here to pull within one once again for Cincinnati. So as the old saying goes, Smith taken, Smith given in this one, scoring an own goal and a goal in the very same game. I'm pretty sure Yamar would be very proud of that, since I always mention him doing a Yamar because most famously he did that against Minnesota not long ago. But yeah, that was not great set piece defending from the Red Bulls. Though again, defending in this game was kind of optional at times. Mboa did look to try to tie it, but he missed wide there. The momentum was definitely with Cincinnati, and this is where if you're a Red Bulls fan, you are very nervous, because with the way that defense hasn't been very a thing, you really hope that Cincinnati eventually will find a way to get that tie and go. And they have shown before that they've been able to get that tie and go and show that spirit like they did against Montreal. Hall would then miss wide from close in the 86th minute, but then in the 4th minute stoppage time, Mohamed Sofo at least give Red Bulls fans a sigh of relief, and most importantly, all 3 points wrapped up as he scored from Duncourt and Volader to make it 4-2 in favor of the Red Bulls. Alvis Powell, of course, then commit a denied goal score opportunity. He was limping too. You can clearly see that he was nursing, and I mean, here's the thing: if you're Alvis Powell, I get it. You are really trying to prevent a goal, but is it worth it? The fact that you decided to prevent a goal. I mean, this game was already kind of out of reach. You might as well just let the Red Bulls score the 5th goal there instead of getting yourself sent off, because yeah, he decided to bring down the Red Bulls player, and that is obviously dog so in every way. So yeah, Cincinnati went down to 10 men. It didn't really matter in the end because Red Bulls pretty much wrapped this up to this point. It was kind of a footnote to this game, as yeah, the New York Red Bulls, for the first time since week 2, Michael Radley side is back in the winning column. 4-2 win against Cincinnati. The shots in this one, 19 shots with the 16 that Cincinnati has. Yeah, there was not a lot of defense being played in this one. A lot of shots. 6 shots on goal for both of these teams. 7 shots off target for both of these teams. 6 shots on block with the 3 that Cincinnati has. And possession-wise, 51% possession compared to 49% possession that Cincinnati has in this game. And whatever this 2 week that Pat Nolan trying to fix this defense, it has not worked whatsoever. This defense continued to be a huge liability to this team, and that's crazy to say for a Pat Nolan side. I said this before. It is mind-boggling how much of a regression this defense have been, and it's not because of injuries. I mean, most of these guys at the back line are pretty much starters that has anchored this back line year in and year out, and yet this season, I mean, I just don't know what's going on. Why on earth have both Miazga and Robinson just look a step slow? You wonder, maybe is this due to the fact that they have suffered those injuries? Remember the fact that they have been kind of injury prone, that when you suffer so many injuries, it's going to eventually take a toll on your body, and maybe that might be the case, because right now it is kind of shocking to see how the goals that they have given up, and the way that they play defense. It's completely unrecognizable of a Pat Nolan side that we've seen in the past as well. But with that being said, instead of stopping the video, I'm going to switch the board manually. Why not? Let's do that manually. Don't need to stop the video whatsoever. As we'll now talk about the last 4 games and talk about the other 4 7:30 game. I believe there's going to be one more 7:30 game I'll talk about in part 2 of the review. And now, of course, I'll talk about the late night game and the West Coast game that is. But the next game we're going to talk about is NYCFC versus St. Louis. So this is a classic example of what happened when you don't put the game away and not able to kill the game off. Because when you don't kill the game off, especially when you're the home team, the away team will always find a way to be optimistic and eventually getting that equalizer. And even though St. Louis have had their issue when it comes to goal scoring, they showed a lot of heart in this game and determination, and got a hard point out of this one. In the first half, seems like this game was broadcast from the moon. So this game was taking place at Citi Field, and I've seen before when NYCFC game is taking place at Citi Field, where the camera angle is actually not as bad as it is at Yankee Stadium. But for whatever reason, I think they changed the camera angle, so this camera angle was way up there. I mean, it's for me because as a guy that likes to see the tactics, it's actually a very good vantage point. But if you want to kind of just get close to the action, that's really just kind of a weird angle to see the game. It's almost like you're basically stuck in the nosebleed section watching this broadcast as well. In the third minute, Parkswood puts it high from close. That was the game's first shot before Berkey denied Gray from close in the 6th minute. NYCFC definitely was on the front foot early, pressing to try to get the opener. And they thought they got it in this 16th minute as Fernandez Markel put the ball into the back of the net. However, the flag did not agree with him. So, yeah, the goal was chopped off for offside. Berkey then denied Fernandez Markel from long range. That also came off a bad turnover for St. Louis, and yeah, they were very lucky to get away with that one. And again, they just still have yet to gain a foothold in this game. NYCFC was absolutely dominating early in this one. Freeze would then deny Harto from closes. That was a rare St. Louis chance. I believe that was the first shot for St. Louis up to this point. Edelman would then put it wide from long range, and yeah, finally St. Louis kind of woke up. They probably saw what I wrote, the fact that they haven't gained a foothold in this game, and say, yeah, now we have officially gained a foothold in this one. Freeze then denied Harto from long range in the 39th minute, but we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. It didn't stay scoreless for long heading into the second half, as 5 minutes in, Hannes Wolf would score from Morales to give NYCFC a 1-0 lead. Morales then looked to try to get another, but he puts it right to Berkey. And just like the first half, NYCFC definitely the better side to begin the half, looking to double their lead. Berkey would deny Ojeda from the near post before Harto would puts it high from close range. Toysher would then puts it wide from long range in the 82nd minute. St. Louis definitely started to show some fight. Again, just like Sporting KC, St. Louis have shown the effort. I know, obviously, the quality is still not there, especially on the attacking end, but they're still showing that fight and determination that I think St. Louis fans will be very, very happy, and certainly Yohan Deme will be very happy to see how his team has been playing. And even though that's the case, at the same time, I thought NYCFC, they have took the foot off the gas way too early. The fact that this is only a one-goal game, they should not be going road heat mode this early in the game. Even if they're facing against a St. Louis side that's not the best when it comes to their finishing. Fernandez Markel then tried to chip the goalkeeper from the halfway line, so he tried to do a little neckdart try in this. Didn't quite work out. Missed wide there. Berkey would then deny Magno from close in the 90th minute. It feels like NYCFC probably saw what I wrote of them kind of take their foot off the gas a bit, because now they really are pushing hard to kill this game off, trying to get that second goal. Hartel would then blast it high from the volley before Morales puts it wide from close range. And Fernandez Markel was in on goal here. And with the form that he's been in, you wouldn't expect him to bury this one, but he was absolutely robbed by Roman Berkey. I mean, I know Roman Berkey is one of the best 1v1 goalkeeper in the league, but that is one that Fernandez Markel has to bury, and it would be costly for NYC because on the other end, St. Louis would tie the game up, as McSorley would score from McNulton and Wallem to tie the game up at 1 apiece. And yeah, NYCFC, they have no one to blame themselves. How many times I've said when you don't put your chances away, especially on one end when you have a big opportunity and you don't put it away, yeah, you're basically asking to get conceded on the other end, and that's exactly what happened in this one. It ends in a 1-1 draw. Shots in this one, 15 shots for the 13 that St. Louis had. 3 shots on goal for the 7 that NYCFC had. 4 shots on target for the 5 that St. Louis had. Both teams had 4 shots on block, and possession-wise, 62% possession compared to 38% possession that St. Louis has in this game. Absolutely felt like a loss for NYCFC in this one. This absolutely felt like a 2-point drop consider the circumstances. And this also kind of continue the theme that we saw last season, where for whatever reason, whenever NYCFC play against bad teams at home, they're just not able to get the whole 3 points. We saw a lot last season. They do well when they face against some good team at home, but when they face against some bad team, you know what that is? That is a definition of playing down to your competition. NYCFC, for whatever reason, seems to play down to their competition when they're playing at home, and it kind of continue in this game as well, or continuing to this season as well, and that's going to really frustrate NYCFC fan and really frustrate Pascal Janssen as well, because they thought they turned the page and not take easy and play down to competition against a team that they clearly should easily get all 3 points, and they don't do so. But for St. Louis, they would absolutely take this. This was a hard fought point for them. Like I said, the effort is there for St. Louis. I know this is not going to be playoff team unless if they make some changes on their attack during the summer transfer window. But that's kind of what they are. They're just basically nursing that way to the summer transfer window, where once they do get the reinforcement, they're hoping that they're at least still within touching distance of the playoffs and maybe make a run in the second half of the season. At least that's kind of the plan I think Corey Ray is trying to do with the St. Louis side. Now, moving on into the next game, and now we'll talk about the game that everybody want me to talk about, because this is really the showcase game of the week between Inter Miami versus Austin FC. I mean, if it wasn't for Easter, this absolutely would have been the Sunday night soccer game. It's a new stadium. It's the home opener for Inter Miami at New Stadium, and I gotta say, it's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, when I was down in Miami, it's kind of unfortunate the fact that I wasn't able to go to that new stadium because they were still finishing the finishing touch. Part of me really wish that that CONCACAF Champions Cup game was actually the first game at new stadium, though I will say that probably it's kind of in some way the fact that that wasn't actually the first game as well, because yeah, that was not a great night for Inter Miami fans to remember. But yeah, this definitely was a night for Inter Miami to remember, and it's going to go down in the history book of their first ever game at their new stadium. But unfortunately, they did not get the win that they were hoping for. Like the 26,000 plus in this game wasn't just expecting a win; they were expecting a party in this one, a show, and instead what they got was Austin showing some fight in this one. And what they also did not expect is the fact that the first goal scored in the new stadium was not by them. It was Austin FC, as Biro will go down in history of being the first ever goal scored in new stadium history, as he scored here from oh god, who did oh my goodness, this is kind of embarrassing, the fact that I can't really read my handwriting there for a second. From Facundo Torres. Now I see the handwriting there, but yeah, he scored from Torres here to give Austin a 1-0 lead early in this one, and like I said, go down as the first goal scorer at New Stadium. It was also the first shot of the game as well, so this must be the first time ever we've seen a stadium debut where the first shot of the game goes into the back of the net. But that lead barely lasted 4 minutes, because you knew Inter Miami was going to respond, and you knew Messi was going to be the first Inter Miami goal scorer at the New Stadium. I mean, you literally name a stand after him. He has to be the goal scorer, and he was here from Frey to tie the game up at one apiece. I mean, you just kind of feel like it was written in the start. You could even say that some people say that this game started to become a little bit too scripted with Messi scoring that first goal, and I kind of don't blame you for saying that. Alande did look for another, but he missed that one over on the header. Biro would then heads it over from close range before Uzuni puts it wide from long range. So you're thinking, when Messi scored, like, okay, yeah, I know that Biro goal was a bit of a speed bump, but now you're expecting a showcase, right? No, Austin, they done a good job in terms of dusting themselves up after giving up the equalizer, and now they want the lead back. Messi would then puts it over from long range before Stuver would deny Savetti from close in the 34th minute. Miami kind of took back the momentum, trying to get themselves the lead. Stuver would then deny Savetti on the header before the post on the other end would deny Torres from close in the 40th minute. The Miami defense, I gotta say, in this game, and this has also kind of been a theme throughout the season, it started to go back to last season for them. We talk about how bad this team was last season when it comes to their defense, especially dealing with transition. They had a lot of issue in this game dealing with transition against this Austin team, and we saw it again in this game as well. And some of the goals that they concede was because of transitional moment from Los Verdes. Hindsight would then hits it right to Dane Sinclair in the 45th minute, but we do head to halftime with the score tied up at one apiece, and you're thinking, surely, the second half is going to be better for Miami, right? Well, DePaul would puts it over from long range in the 51st minute, but then in the 53rd minute, Austin got the lead back as Jaden Nelson would score. I believe this is his first for Austin. First in an Austin shirt, and this again came off a lightning counterattack. Again, that's been one of the kryptonite we've seen with this Miami defense last season. It's happening again here. So that gave Austin a 2-1 lead. It definitely stunned the 26,000 fans inside the stadium, because they were expecting a showcase. They were not expecting this to be a closely matchup. They did not expect Los Verdes was going to come into this one and kind of ruin their home opener party. In the 61st minute, Uzuni was in on goal there, but he was robbed by Dane Sinclair, and yeah, Miami just looked shell-shocked up to this point. But at the same time, that Uzuni chance, that should have been 3-1. And how many times I said, when you're playing against Miami, there's really not a lot of room for error when it comes to finishing. You have to put away your chances because if you don't, bad things going to happen. Stuver would then deny Savetti, but Allende gets another chance, but he hits it right to Stuver. And I mean, Austin just can't sit on this lead. You just kind of had a feeling there was no way Austin was going to be able to just hold on to this 2-1 lead. You know Miami is going to push hard. You know that this would have been an absolute embarrassment for Miami, for David Beckham, for Jorge Mas, and this, and even Javier Mascherano, to the fact that they would be losing their home opener at new stadium. But in the 66th minute, Ramirez would miss an absolute tap in. Again, these are golden opportunity that Austin should have put it away to put this game maybe out of reach. But instead, it's still 2-1. Stuver would deny Messi from close range before Messi hits it wide from close range. And you just kind of had a feeling it's just a matter of time. I mean, I know Stuver has tried his best to try to steal this one, but this is Inter Miami, and you know it's almost written in the star that they eventually will get the equalizer. And guess who got the equalizer in the 82nd minute? It's Luis Suarez, a guy that maybe they probably should be thinking about playing more often this season. It is kind of surprising that he's been only coming off the bench, even though he still can do this. Where he scored here from Berterame to tie the game up at 2 apiece. So good news for Herman Berterame. You know, he did get himself on the assist chart. The bad news is he's still are held goalless, and I believe that's his first assist of the season, the first goal contribution that Berterame has had so far in an Inter Miami jersey. So yeah, that's definitely a start, at least for him. I mean, I know no strikers they care more about goal scoring rather than on the assist chart. But if you've seen how statement Berterame has been, he'll take anything to get himself going, and maybe that assist might get him going. DePaul would then puts it over from close range. It was a huge shout for a handball not given for Miami not long after. Savetti would then blast one in the back post. Austin, they were on the ropes. I mean, you can clearly see Miami. They were putting all sorts of pressure. They were determined to trying to win their home opener, and they thought they got it in the 90th minute when Suarez put this one into the back of the net. Problem was the flag did not agree with him, and it was the right call. You know, when Messi strike this one, Suarez was in an offside position when Messi hits this one off the post, and because of the fact that Suarez was in an offside position, he can't be the first one to hit the rebound, and he was. So the game remains 2 at that point, or tied up at 2 at that point. It was another shout for a penalty for Miami not given. Stuver would then deny Messi from close before Falcon would hit it wide from close. He does that again just a minutes later, but in the end, Austin, they hold on to get the 2-2 result in this one. And by the way, I did not write down the stats of this game, so let me just quickly, once again, do what I usually do when I didn't write the stats. Actually, I didn't write the stats because I ran out of room in terms of talking about this game. I mean, this was actually a really fun opener. I wouldn't say when it comes to home opener. I mean, I've seen a lot of crazy home opener or new stadium home opener before, but this one definitely was right up there in terms of being one of the more crazy one. I would still say when it comes to an all-time opener or a new stadium home opener, ironically, Minnesota probably have two of them, although one of them not in a reason of them getting blown out 6-1 against Atlanta United in that snow opener. But the other game, I think, when they drew 3-3 against NYCFC, that was a crazy game as well. And that was also a game I always remember as the game when Sean Johnson just gifted a goal for the Loons after just a simple back pass that went through his legs, and that at that point it was like 3-2 after just like 20 something minutes. Shots in this one, 27 shots with the 9 that Austin has. So yeah, it's safe to say Austin really survived this game. 9 shots on goal for the 3 that Austin has in this one. 10 shots off target compared to 2 that Austin had. 6 shots on the block for the 1 that Austin had, and possession wise, 62% possession compared to 38% possession that Austin has in this game. So I know Austin fans will be a little bit frustrated that they once again let this game slip, especially giving up a late goal. But consider all the chances that Miami has and the push that they had late in this one, I think they're probably very lucky. The fact that they were able to escape to a point and kind of in some way play a little bit of a party pooper in terms of ruining Miami chance of getting their home opener on a good note to get all 3 points. And as I said this before, and I'm not going to try to use this as an excuse for Miami, but I've said this before in my preview, the fact that, you know, this happens to every single team where when you play in a new building, even though it is your home, you play in a new building, it's very unfamiliar territory, you kind of feel like it doesn't really have that sense that you're really at home until maybe the fourth or fifth game when you finally started to feel like, yeah, this is finally our home. We're finally settle in, and you just wonder maybe this might be the same case for Inter Miami. Though, as I said, that maybe might not be as an excuse because it's the Inter Miami team. I mean, on paper, this team is stacked from top bottom, and as I said, so far this season, I know the record doesn't look that bad, and I know they're still pretty high up in the Eastern Conference, but they just look very underwhelming so far in the beginning of the season. They just have not looked like a team that we expect to be a dominating opponent left, right, and center. And without the expectation of this team, that's got to be frustrating for Miami fans to kind of have to deal with that. And they hope that they can eventually snap out of it like they did in the second half of the season, because it was kind of the same problem that they had in the first half of last season, where they were very pedestrian to begin the season, and eventually they kind of snapped out of it and got themselves all the way to MLS Cup and winning the trophy. They'll probably need to do that again this season as well. Now, moving on, in terms of the next game, as I spent a long time talking about that. I mean, this is, of course, the main event. Obviously, I'm going to have a lot to say about this one. But now let's talk about DC United versus FC Dallas. So this is what can happen when FC Dallas not only is very good on the attack, but they kind of finally sort out their defense a bit. Because, yeah, this is why, when you look at where FC Dallas is the standing, do not be fooled. The fact that this is secretly a very dangerous team. This is a huge dark horse, a team that is flying under the radar once again this season, and a team that I will not be surprised if they might be challenging for top four, even top three, and maybe have a say in terms of some of the real contender in the Western Conference this season. Now, in the first half, Kaluri would deny Baribo, as that was the game's first shot. Not much really happened, at least early in this one. The shots were only 1-0 for DC early, but in the 16th minute, Logan Farrington would score from Romero and Ibiaga to give Dallas a 1-0 lead. Bartlett then looked to answer, but he missed wide. We then go for a period where not much really happened, and in the 41st minute, we have our next chance with Kaludi behind Bartlett from close, and then Cervania would hit it right to Kalodi in the 41st minute. I wonder if Brandon Cervania scored this goal, whether he will celebrate against his former team. Probably not. You know, he is a former FC Dallas product. I'm pretty sure he won't celebrate against his former team, but there was no doubt that DC have woke up. They were pressing late to try to get the equalizer. I say the lead. It's actually the equalizer that is. But instead of getting the equalizer, they would go down 2-0 because Patrickson Delgado would score a wonderful free kick in the second minute of stoppage time to give Dallas a 2-0 lead heading into halftime. In the second half, Johnson would deny Musa from close. There was a shout for a penalty for DC not given. Baribo would then heads it wide from close in the 55th minute before Kamungo would puts it just high from close in the 56th minute. The games, I thought, really started to open up. There were times where this game was a little bit tight, but it's definitely opened up, and there's definitely chances for both of these teams. Again, when you look at how this game would play out, I think just like the game between New England and Montreal, the scoreline, I wouldn't say was that lopsided compared to what we see in terms of this game. DC did have some chances in one, but Dallas was just much better when it comes to their finishing and their overall quality. Materno would then heads it wide from close in the 62nd minute, but then in the 78th minute, Uragide would make it 3-0 for Dallas as he scored from Valente and Kayike to make it 3-0 in favor of Dallas. Musa did look for 4, but he was denied by Johnson. But he was not denied by Johnson in the first minute of stoppage time, and eventually he does get the 4 for Dallas in the first minute of stoppage time, because of course Musa has to get on the score sheet. I mean, if Musa doesn't get on the score sheet after Dallas scoring 4 goals, yeah, he's probably not going to be very happy, but he'll be very happy that he got on the score sheet. And yeah, just like that, 4-0. Dallas had it. Definitely a statement win for Dallas, and it's not very often you see a road team just kind of running riot against their whole side. I mean, I know it's DC, and some people say that maybe this is just kind of DC. It feels like the shoe has started to finally drop with this team. I mean, they kind of got off to a good start, but you just kind of had a sense that, yeah, that good start that they have is probably going to go away soon, especially with them playing some relatively easy team to begin the season. But the shots in this one, 16 shots with 11 that DC had. 3 shots on goal for the 8 that Dallas had. 3 shots off target for the 2 that DC had. 5 shots on block for the 4 that DC had. And possession-wise, 50% for both of these teams. And watch out. If this is how Dallas could look in the future, if they can sort out their defense, which at times has been the problem this season, this is a very dangerous team. This is a team that you definitely do not want to underestimate. Peter Cole has really got this team cooking, especially going forward on the attack, and they continue to do so throughout the season. And last but not least, talk about the final game of part number one is Charlotte versus the Philadelphia Union. And honestly, this game just kind of sums up the season for the Philadelphia Union. They have yet to register a single point. It's now six straight loss to begin the season. I don't know exactly what the record is in terms of how many losses in a row to start this season. I think Philly is probably getting close to reaching that. One thing I do know is that they probably have already reached the record for the most consecutive loss to start the season, coming off of the support ratio winning season. In the first half, Beal with the game's first shot, but he puts that one wide before Ilosky would put the ball into back net, but the goal was disallowed for offside because, of course, that's how the season has gone for the Union. They just have no luck whatsoever up to this point, and for Milan Ilosky, he's been a shell of his old self. Imagine if he's still with San Diego right now. I'm pretty sure he must be really regretting not decided to go back to Europe and not join the party that San Diego is basically having, and now stuck with a team that is dead last in the league by a long shot. But not much really happened, at least in the beginning. The shots were only one apiece up to this part. The rain were also really coming down hard, so there was a lot of empty seats as a result of that. Well, a lot of people probably are in the concourse as a result because of how heavy the rain started to fall down. The shots, those still were only 3-1, 28 minutes in, but in the 30th minute, Ashley Westwood would score a rare goal for Charlotte. So the captain usually doesn't score a lot of goals for Charlotte. He contributed here to give Charlotte a 1-0 lead. Zaha did look for another, but he was denied by Blake, and we do head to halftime with Charlotte with a 1-0 lead. In the second half, Diamante would put it wide from close. The Union definitely were on the front foot trying to get the equalizer. Ilosky would clip the post on the free kick before Kalina would deny him from long range in the 66th minute. In the 70th minute, Westfield would put it just high from long range. Well, Charlotte was definitely holding on for dear life. I mean, the Union, they were pushing hard to try to get the equalizer. But like I said, we've seen this before with the Philadelphia Union, where they try to push hard for the equalizer. More times than not, they are unable to do so. Bueno would hit it right to Kalina in the 74th minute before Diamante would hit it wide from close in the 76th minute. But in the 78th minute, for one of the rare time, it actually did happen for the Union with all the pressure that they put, as Danny John Jock would score from Sullivan and Harold to tie the game up at one apiece. Yeah, that felt like it's been coming. With all the pressure that the Union has, you just kind of had a sense eventually Charlotte resistance was going to be broken. But before Union fans can celebrate and thinking that now we have the momentum, maybe this might finally be our first win, right? Nope. Literally 20 seconds after they restarted the play, Wilfred Zaha restored the lead for Charlotte. He scored from De La Torre to give Charlotte the lead back, and this is a classic example of, that old saying that you're always the most vulnerable after you score. Yeah, for the Union, they were definitely vulnerable. This is the cardinal sins when you score, where you have to keep your defensive shape and not let your guard down, because the other team will immediately try to go on the other end and try to score, knowing that the other team are probably still are in celebration mode the last go, and that's exactly what happened. Just the Union defense completely switched off on the restart, and they were punished as a result. I mean, you cannot leave Wilfred Zaha with that much space and not get punished, and just like that, Charlotte has the lead back in this one. Abada then looked for another, but he was denied by Blake. Sullivan then looked to try to tie it again, but he hits that one wide before in the 90th minute, Danny John Jug would puts it high from long range. The Union was definitely pressing to try to get that equalizer again. Charlotte back to just holding on for dear life, almost playing road heat mode a bit. And it looked like they wrapped it up in the third minute stoppage time when Archie Goodwin put it into the back net. Problem was the flag did not agree with him. So the goal was disallowed for offside, and Charlotte fans still had to hold their breath, hope that they could hold on to win 2-1 in this one. Good news is they do. They win 2-1 in this one against the Union. The shots in this one, 9 shots for the 17 that the Union has. So the Union almost had double the amount of shots that Charlotte has had. But like I said, as the story of the season, the shots on goal tells the story. The Union has had a lot of these games where they put a lot of shots, but the shots on goal compared to the total shot total is just, it's very low in terms of percentage. Probably one of the lowest one if you have a stats on compared to shots on goal to the all shots total that a team has had, because they only had 3 shots on goal out of those 17 compared to 5 that Charlotte has. 2 shots off target for the 6 that the Union had. 6 shots was blocked for the 2 that Charlotte has. And possession-wise, 57% possession compared to 43% possession the Union has in this one. And while this was not a pretty win by Charlotte for what whatsoever, and in some way, I still feel like I tell about some teams, their records, especially some teams that are low in the standings, that they're actually playing a little better than what their record is. I feel like for Charlotte, it's kind of the opposite, where I still feel like Charlotte, their record is a little bit deceiving. I'm trying not to use the word frauds in next to the Charlotte name, because at the end of the day, a win is a win. 3 points is 3 points, and the old saying is, you are what you are in terms of what your record and your points total said. But I just feel like for Charlotte, they still don't look impressive, and especially with the in this game. I mean, they could have easily dropped points after just sitting back way too early in this one. Almost felt the same mistake that NYCFC, of course, has had, and against a Union team that really struggle again. I mean, yes, it's a great win for them, but is it one that will really show that, yeah, when we do get faced against some good team, maybe we'll definitely make a statement. We'll see whether or not that, of course, is the case, but for the Philadelphia Union, like I said, this the game just sums up the season. And I know some people will say, well, is Bradley Carnell's job really now in jeopardy? I mean, I think as long as this team continue to lose, then yeah, I do think his job is definitely in jeopardy. It looks like the second year curse for Bradley Carnell has followed him to Philadelphia as well. But I really don't think it's his fault. I mean, when you look at how this team has performed, I do think that there's definitely a level of unluckiness, and they're kind of in some way reminds me a little bit of last year's Galaxy team as well, where I know the Galaxy had that horrible start to the season, a record-breaking horrible start to the season as well, especially for a defending champ. But part of that horrible run had some unluckiness in part of it. There were games where they could have easily won in those games, but they just have been a little unlucky when it comes to their finishing, and it's the same thing for the Union. I mean, they overall, when you look at their attack, it's not actually as bad as I think some people has been saying. They actually have a pretty good XG. I think they're really underperforming their XG right now, but the problem is that the XG is just a number there, and at the end of the point, the number that really matters is how many goals have you scored. And yeah, the Union, they just have had a lot of issue with that this season, and also it doesn't help the fact that I think the other reason why the Union has been at the state that they are, and I've already did a video talk about this, is the moves that they made this offseason. The continued gutting of this team has really started to finally caught up to this team, and I definitely have caught up to this team even in a more harsh way than I imagine as well. Because yeah, as we head into match week number 7, they are still the only team to have yet to get a win or even a point up on the board. How long will we see the Philadelphia Union finally get a point? I might even need to do another video talk about the Union to see when exactly will they finally get their first point or even get their first win of the season as well. Will they do what the Galaxy did last season and go pretty much the entire half of the season to begin without even getting a single win? But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of the review of the first 8 games of this week. As I said before, we're going to do the review of the next 7 game and the last 7 game tomorrow as well. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys do like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.